I'm Laura Knights, CEO of Knights Consulting, creator of BlackWomanLeading.com, and the host of Black Woman Leading, the podcast. This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on 3 core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. All right, y'all. I wanted to just drop this quick little note to share my insights and highlights from the 2025 Black Woman Leading Live Conference and Retreat. It was just last week, May 27th through the 30th in Virginia Beach. And y'all, words cannot even express. I am still unraveling, unpacking, processing the magic that happened in that space. I'm just going to give you a few of the highlights. So you can check out our IG at Black Woman Leading, my personal at Laura E. Knights. Follow us on LinkedIn, all of that. And you can see some of the images, visuals. If you follow the hashtag BWL Live, you can see some of the posts from our attendees to kind of get the vibe. But I'm just going to share a little bit because y'all, I mean, dreams come true. This is our 3rd annual event. And just to see I wrote down the vision of this on the back of an envelope on an airplane in 2016. And to see this thing just fully realize that room of those brilliant Black women in there connecting, sharing, learning, growing, healing, y'all. A vibe, okay? A vibe. So let me just share a few of my highlights as the founder. So one, I want to just tap into the content. You'll see in a lot of our visuals on socials that yes, we dancing, we're having a good time, we're laughing, we have all the fun, all the kiki, and all of that is happening, okay? But we cannot get past the real expert content that is taking place in this room. So we have a time, yes. But I want to first just highlight the knowledge sharing that happened in that space. So our brilliant team of coaches were doing double duty. They were speakers on their areas of expertise, but they also were floating and doing laser coaching and providing support. I'll come back to them in a minute because I just can't even deal with how fabulous our team of coaches are. But we also had guest experts there that are friends of Black Woman Leading who came to share their expertise and just a fellowship with us. So let me just give you a highlight, y'all, of some of the topics that were covered in this year's retreat. Now, our retreats, just like everything else we do, our podcast, our program always hits on our 3 core pillars. Leadership and career development is 1. Mental wellness, self-care, collective healing, 2. And then 3, relationship management in the workplace. So all of that was present. But we had a kind of undercurrent theme this year around strategic communication as a leader. And why I really wanted to zoom in on that topic is that many of the people in our community are those mid and senior level leaders that have a desire to maybe step into executive level leadership or just to be leading on a different level, right? A different wavelength, even as a mid or senior level leader. And so a critical competency that we have supported our Black Women Leading on in our program, that we see that there needs to be some intentionality there and some particular attention to the nuance of it for Black women, is this strategic leadership. And so how do we have the helicopter view, have one foot in the future, but also one foot in the present? How do we vacillate between when we need to be really tactical and in the weeds and then step up and speak vision and strategy? That requires intentionality. And so that type of strategic leadership really requires a focus and strategic communication, which is a driver for growing in that area. So I wanted to bring some focused attention to building the strategic communication skills of our attendees to help them master that competency. And when I tell you our speakers, our coaches, our guest experts did just that. So we kicked off with some hard work, and I have got to shout out Dr. Maisha Claiborne. She has been a guest, many seasons ago on the podcast, but she is an expert in how our communication, how trauma informs our communication. So when I tell y'all she gave us a master class on how
things we may have experienced in the past. And the past can be childhood. The past can be that last job you had that was toxic, okay, in a traumatic workplace environment. How when that is not processed and healed, how it shows up in our communication, y'all, how it shows up and how you are engaging with people, whether you know it or not. So she broke that topic down to us. I mean, snatched edges. Okay. You could see people grasping their pearls and making the appointment with their therapist while they were in the session. But she did it with such loving kindness to teach us that, girl, that thing you think you bury is still there and it's showing up in how you are engaging and communicating with these people in the workplace. So she brought us not only insight and knowledge, but awareness and how we can heal through that and how we can drive the narrative and how our communication is showing up. Love it. Started with that hard work. Then Coach Sinette, one of our resident coaches, took us into this topic around emotional mastery and how, what if those emotions, even the ones you view as negative, what if we could use those as currency, as powerful data, and that we could use that information to master our emotions and to really move forward with clarity as more effective leaders. So she gave us some insights on that. So good. All right, resident coach, Dr. Chanasa Ellaway, came through and talked about leading in the midst of uncertainty. Now, what about when you're charged to lead and guide others and you're like, child, I don't know either, because this is a hot mess going on here. She gave us some strategies of when it is uncertain, the path is unknown, when fires are at every turn, but people are still looking and depending on you as a leader, personal or professional. How do you still lead with intentionality when you do not have and you're scared as well. You're anxious as well. And she gave us some sense on how we can step heavy. You had to be there to know what that step heavy is, but how we can step heavy in the midst of the uncertainty. Oh, so good. So that was some of the hard work stuff we did. Then we started to turn the corner and say, well, let's talk about tactical strategy. Coach Summer, one of our resident Black woman leading coaches, talked about storytelling as a strategic communication tool. And she gave us a framework for how we can infuse storytelling. What about when you need to influence somebody? What about when you need to convince somebody to buy into your idea? What about when you know they're not rocking with the stuff you want to do, but you still need to move them to action in the direction you want to go in? Yeah, been there, done that. So she went over a storytelling framework and used some really practical examples to bring that home for us. So good. And then I have to shout out Letitia Newby, who came. Letitia is a chief people and legal officer. She came and shared some insights and some things we need to keep in mind when we are stepping into executive leadership. But she is also an attorney and employment law expert. So she also dropped some gems on us around understanding employment law and our rights, particularly from the lens of being a Black woman. And we had an opportunity to pick her brain around some things. People brought some real scenarios to the mic about when they might need to be reaching out for an attorney in some of these professional workplace experiences they're having. And she was so generous with helping people understand what their rights were, what their next steps should be, questions they should ask their attorney. So good. So that was just day one. Okay, I don't want to, you're going to see these pictures and the reels with us having a good time. And I don't want you to think we just came there to kiki. We did quite a bit of kikiing, okay, having a good time. But the knowledge gems, the wisdom gems dropped there, so powerful. In addition, what I love about all of our speakers, it wasn't just the research-based frameworks, because they got receipts. These are experts, right? This wasn't just my opinion. This was documented, evidence-based frameworks and research they brought. But they matched that with real practical strategies of how our attendees could take that information and then immediately, I'm talking about next day, same day, implement what they were learning. And that is in true Black woman leading form. The other thing that was so rich about our speakers is that, again, matching research-based, evidence-based backing it up with the practical knowledge, they brought intuition to it. They brought their Black woman experience to it. They invited our Black woman experience into the room, because sometimes research ain't gonna get it, and you're gonna have to go with your gut. You're gonna have to go with your intuition. You're gonna have to go with your faith. And they brought that into the room too, and made it a safe space for our holistic experience as Black women leaders. Love that. Few more content points that our experts brought. They're just so grateful that our audience can just really soak up from their expertise. Daphne Valson talked about intentional networking and relationship building, and how that's not just a willy-nilly going to events and passing out, business cards, but that there's an intentionality to it, and that you can be strategic about that, even if you're an introvert. She brought some stuff for the introverts based on where you're trying to go in your career. Dr. I'm calling her doctor, and she's not a doctor yet. Okay, let me stop there. Felicia Tate, one of our resident Black woman leading coaches, brought in mindfulness in the room. What about when people are working your last nerve, but you still need to be professional and you cannot turn up in there in those people's establishment? She brought in mindfulness and how we can bring that into our communication. She gave some really practical strategies on how we can pause even in the moment of communication and bring forth our best, bring forth the way that we want to be seen as leaders. Guest expert Kristen V. Carter was in the building. She talked about communicating your value, right? When you want to ask for more, when you want to advocate for yourself, how do you communicate your value from a really values-based place for you, but in a way that also shows the asset that you are to the organization? And then we cannot move forward without talking about the money, because you're going to communicate your value, you're going to ask for more, but when you get that, how can you really optimize that? So Ange Matthews from the Happy Investor Method came and said, even if you are a salaried employee, how do you grow your money using investment strategies, using passive income strategies? And y'all, when I tell you our audience was fighting for their life to take all those notes from Ange, she was dropping so many gems about how to grow our money and taking the mystique out of the investing, the passive income streams. And she has the receipt. So this wasn't just pie in the sky. This was really, let me show you not only what I've done for myself, but for hundreds and hundreds of people that Ange works with in her Happy Investor Method approach. So good. And then finally, our resident coach, Coach Karma, wrapped us up. We were so motivated. We had all these action items from all the speakers and all the conversations with our peers and colleagues. And Coach Karma brought us home before we checked out of the event and said, yeah, you're going to get back home and life is going to be lifing. And you're going to have this mountaintop experience, and you might get back and have to put out a fire. So she talked about adaptive resilience. And I know a lot of Black women give a side eye to a lot of the resilience messaging, because it feels like it's just about how much you can endure, right? But this adaptive resilience framework that Coach Karma shared with us was not just about surviving. It wasn't just bouncing back after you've been hit, but it was about, okay, we got to come back, right? We do have to survive, but then how do we thrive? How do we go beyond and flourish? And what are ways that we can cultivate that for ourselves, not only reactively when something has happened, but proactively to really gird ourselves up to be ready, knowing that, challenges and obstacles are going to come. And then I did a strategic communication lab, because you can have all these frameworks in the world, but when the rubber hits the road, you need to know exactly what you're going to say in that meeting, in diffusing that conflict and speaking up and advocating and setting boundaries with each other. So I shared my 5-part aligned messaging framework, where our participants literally in the room broke out and said, okay, you got this situation. What you going to say, sis? What exactly are you going to say? And they got to practice with each other the messaging. Our coaches were floating and giving laser coaching, and we workshopped that thing in the room. People left with exactly like what they're going to say in these meetings coming up, when they have to address a conflict, when they have to advocate, when they have to push their idea, when people are giving them a side eye about it. Okay. So it was really a practical lab so that people can get that language together, not only the vision of where they wanted to go with it, but the exact language they were going to use when they got in the room. So good. So I had to highlight that content, y'all, because yes, we have a good time, but don't get it twisted. We definitely get into the nitty gritty of the information as well. Now let's get to the good time. Outside of all that learning and growing as leaders through the content, we had a girls' night, y'all. You know, we had the fun flowing, some libations flowing, but we debuted our very own Black Woman Leading theme song and line dance. Yes, we have our own theme song and line dance. So fun. This has been a dream of mine to be on the stage guiding people through our own line dance. And we did that. If you check our socials, that all of that, the videos from that are there. And we will have that theme song on all the streaming platforms shortly, so you will be able to join in with us. We even made a little music video to teach the tutorial for the line dance. Yes, y'all, we are that extra, and it was so fun. So you will be able to see that shortly on our YouTube channel. So exciting. We also did all the other faves. We had them doggone fans, y'all, and that boots on the ground. We even did the Tamia, what I call the geometry line dance, because I still ain't got all them turns down. But we had a good time, and it was just a time of fellowship. We had the 360 booth going. My girl Frankie Parker, who is an amazing artist, band leader, vocalist, came and performed some original music. Y'all check out Frankie Parker, because if you are one of those people that roll your eyes and talk about all the crap that's on the radio and they don't know nothing about good music, we have to celebrate and support independent artists. So Frankie Parker was in the building singing, serenading us with real grown woman music. Check her out at Frankie Parker Music. She came and blessed our attendees with some of her beautiful melodies, and I'm just so grateful for her, y'all. So we had a time. I think I'll end on this. Content, fun, line dance. What I think one of the most powerful things are about anything we do with Black Women Leading, our cohort programs, this conference and retreat, is in addition to the learning, the healing, the growing that's happening in the space, the unpaid actor that's always in the background in anything we do is the community building. So we had a sister that was there from Utah, and she was like, I came because I wanted to connect with Black women. I'm from Utah, yes. And she was in that room connecting with her sisters, connecting, exchanging information, real connection, not just because we're at this event, connection that's going to go beyond the event. Our alums who have been in Zoom boxes, working with each other for months, got to see and touch and hug their growth partners, their colleagues that they did our cohort experience with, and to see them laughing, hugging, sometimes crying together, taking pictures and selfies, wearing their Black Woman Leading t-shirts. That is what it's all about, y'all. Because after we leave that space, we have to go back, and the world is going to be doing what the world do. And we have to have a community of support. We need each other, and it's our community that's going to save us. So that, I think, out of everything was one of my highlights, seeing the real connections made, seeing the relationships that I know for a fact, because this is our third year and I've seen how they've grown, are going to extend beyond our time in that space. No words. I'm just so grateful that this little vision that little old me had has grown, and the people have latched onto that and invest in it as if it is their own God-given vision. I'm so grateful, so excited to keep this party going. Our next retreat is already planned, baby. So if you want to be there, join us. Black Woman Leading Live 2026, May 11th through the 14th, and we'll be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You can go to our website at bwlretreat.com. Join the interest list. Depending on when you're seeing this, the links to register might already be live. But if they are not, join the interest list and you will get all the updates so you can join us next year and take part of all this transformation, all this magic. It's my honor and pleasure to do it, and I hope that we can do it with you in a future year of this retreat. So, of course, follow us, y'all, on all platforms. We'll get you right back to the podcast. We would love to connect with you in any of the ways, social media, website, YouTube, any of the ways. And until next time, y'all, be well.